the whole thing we want to try and do in the dummy is that. Last thing I'll say, when you do that, the contact point does not become a fork, does not become a point that you push through. It becomes a fulcrum point, right? Imagine Dave was going out like that now, right? As he's going out like that, and the body's turning, the point of contact here then becomes a fulcrum point. Naturally, you don't have to think, how do I get around it, and your body starts going like that. You just do your thing. You just do heel and toe with your thumb cue. As a result, the contact point becomes a point of fulcrum. You want to have that even in your kicks if you're hitting with the shins or with your forearms. Yeah, so you're doing something like that. Even though you're crushing through someone and hitting them, you are never using this linear force if this was the person's arm going like that. Never. To do this, because your body can't move like that. This is joints us round. To go in a linear way, you must use muscles to stabilize and push this way or push this way. If you're moving naturally like a baby, the way they move, at the contact point, if they don't push, if they just move, it will never be a linear pressing, right? Just the last thing before I do this, Anderson Silva snapped, the ones that follow UFC, right? Anderson Silva snapped his shin. Remember that? The ones that saw? It was at the top of the game, best ever in my opinion. He's my favorite fighter. But as he was kicking, the guy just checked him with his knee, and you saw his shin bone continue to go. This one this way, the other one that way, completely snapped, right? Yeah, it's on YouTube. It makes you cringe. So naturally, I took that. Whenever we see something cool, whatever it is, a Systema, Tai Chi, whatever, the next day I'll take it to Siegel and say, hey, what do you think of this? And we saw it. He goes, that wouldn't happen to us if you're kicking the Wing Chun way. So what do you mean? And this is only about 5 years before he died. So this, my understanding wasn't really that good in terms of what I'm talking about. I didn't really understand it, but this sort of solidified it a bit. He said, because in Wing Chun, as we're kicking, even as you're kicking something like that, the point of contact there is not that I'm holding it and trying to push past in a linear way past it. Again, because this is a joint there, that's a joint there, the point of contact, it's always going to be a fulcrum. Always. But you can use that to slice through it, but it's still got that fulcrumness in it as it's slicing through. Therefore, we would never snap our shin because it's never hitting something linear for it to bend and snap. Does that make sense? That's exactly what you want to be doing with the dummy, that's all. Yeah. Make sense? Yeah. Never perpendicular. You can't use your body perpendicular unless you brace and move like this. You push like that. Whereas if you're moving like that, especially if you start adding the body the proper way, it's always a fulcrum point. Then it gets rid of this problem of fighting from the contact point if you use your biomechanics correctly. But to use your biomechanics correctly and not have the muscles get involved, you have to be using Lim Tao. Let me go back to see Lim Tao is the most important thing, what Tong Horace was saying. Yeah? You guys with me so far? Okay, so I'll demonstrate the dummy, I guess, and then be done with it, and then maybe take a couple of questions later, yeah? So, I won't be talking. Yeah, it was like fighting someone up here. Yeah. Questions? So what I talked about, again, I'll shut up in a couple of minutes, but what I talked about is, for example, for these movements, if we try later on, you can come up and try it, but to hold your arm out here and do something like, which is straight out of Bill G form, with someone holding like that, unless you can use the multi-directional force of this is just doing this condition is a given. Taigong, Seng, relaxation, that's a given. If that's all the given, and if you just can continue keeping your wrist on center and doing this, that's all the arm is doing, it's just doing that. But as that's doing this, continuously, this is doing that. So if the body wasn't moving, it's just doing that, and it's just doing that. That's all the arm is doing. But of course, on the dummy, people have to get an effect on that, right? Whether I pull or if I connect, it looks the same anyway. But when you feel it, you feel different. So that's why people will go like this, like that. You know, so the arm is actually doing this. Doesn't matter how strong you are. Do that against someone with this kind of structure, you're not going to be able to move them. And this is why other Wing Chun, like Cecil Peter said, there's no wrong or right. But this is why an external style of Wing Chun, they have all these fail-safe stuff. You punch and something happens, you have to go into there. And if they push into here, you have to do this. No, if they're pushing anyway, you still do that. This is Sigong's Wing Chun. Yeah. Cool, that's all. Thanks, guys.
Do you have any questions for Nima?
Yes. How much of all the form is involved in wooden dummy?
All of them, yeah, all of them. I mean, we've got the condition of Silum Tao, like I said, retaining this triangulation in Silum Tao with that holistic condition, and then moving our body, you know, with all the stuff we're doing, Tam Q, and of course in Bilji we have we have a lot of the shapes. This one, the Gansao, this one is out of Bilji. So we have the shapes of Bilji. For Bilji, one thing that Sigong said, he said when he was teaching us a dummy, he said, every movement that I do, I'm hitting the dummy. It was a loss in translation. He said the waist, but it's not. He means the center. He said when he said it, he pointed to a point here. He said, I'm hitting the dummy. Every move I'm hitting it with here. Yeah. So I think rather than thinking hitting with here, think I'm connecting this point, which in Bilji later on the axis becomes a nucleus, becomes a point. You're connecting that point to the dummy. So all the forms are involved in it. That's why I think after Cham Kyu is usually, I teach the dummy in my school after Cham Kyu. Before Bilji, we say, look, these movements are out of Bilji, but you'll learn it as you go along. Sigong himself teaches after Bilji, but he himself practiced the dummy after Cham Kyu. Before Bilji, Sigong practiced the dummy. I teach that way just because people are keen to do the dummy straight away, you know. So as soon as you say, hey, time for dummy, they work hard. We use it as a bait, you know, for them to work hard and jump through the hoops of being able to defend themselves and all that kind of stuff. It's a business at the end of the day. So we do, to be very honest, I do put it like that. So it keeps people, and the longer the people in there, the more they start delving in. How come he can do that? How come you can do this? Silum Tao, brother. Silum Tao. You know, how come he's doing this? I'm not saying sparring is bad. My school, we do everything, like Seth was saying, and that was a very good talk that Seth did. Where is he? Yeah, it was a very good talk, man, because I'm ranting again. Okay, last thing I'll say, to back up what Seth was saying, one time, so the standing is important, okay? But we created standing. Myself, Seb, we're the ones who started standing there. Sigong never told us to stand. He changed his teaching a bit, and we decided, Tong also, we just stood there. And then when they're standing, he'll come and he'll start, once he found out about the spine, he'll start correcting your spine. And we're like, sweet, if we do this, he'll give us time, so when we stand more. Then people coming from all those other places are like, whoa, that's what's being taught. Actually, what was being taught is Silum Tao, not standing. And then one time, you can ask Horace, one time they were going down towards the end of his teaching, his dad, they were going in the elevator, and his dad sort of mumbled like, why is everyone, I don't understand why everyone's just standing, you know? Regan, before he went to Korea, he's like, Sigong, should I do Chisao? He's like, yes. Should I do Cham Kyu? Yes. Should I? Yes. I never asked you to not do anything. And that's what he said, quite, you know, like, why are you guys just standing? So yes, absolutely, you must do. It's not just Seth's thing, this is Sigong's thing. Another great thing he said is don't look at what the person taught. I'm not saying don't listen to what Sigong taught, but look at how he trained. The man had 50 kilos of, he could go to new territories, fill up bags, 50 kilos each with rocks, just to figure out how you can use the center of mass to move it. People are like, can you do pull-ups? Yeah. I'll hold the punching bag in between my knees and I'll do 20 pull-ups. To hold a punching bag 25 kilos with your hip joints. Yoga? Yeah, no problem. I can put my feet behind my head. Swimming? I'll swim around. You know, you can ask Toti, when they go swimming, he would swim circles around the students. As they're in the ocean, they're swimming, let's go to that island. All right, and then he swims circles around them as they're going there. You know, so he was very physical. He was very physical. Of course, there was a fighting, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just in the standing. There is internal, but there is also, it's a kung fu. It's a yin and yang. Yeah? I'll shut up now. Thank you.